Okay, real quick, just some updates on some stories that we've been following on the channel. Robert Morris, obviously we know what's going on with him, got indicted for child sex crimes stemming from a situation, well, multiple encounters allegedly that took place over 40 years ago. Yesterday, the accuser, or is that how you call it? The accuser, the victim. I don't want to be like disrespectful or insensitive. But Cindy Clemenshire, she testified in Austin. And I want to see what she said. I'm curious to know what she said.
Cindy Clemenshire, the woman at the center of the abuse case involving Robert Morris, the founding pastor of Gateway Church, is in Austin this morning. She's testifying on behalf of a bill involving abuse victims and civil court settlement agreements.
It wasn't until, even with years of counseling, that I could accept the term abuse. I was 35 the first time I truly accepted and believed that he abused me, that it was criminal. And I understood.
Clemenshire was 12 years old when she says Morris,
I wish they would just play the whole clip,
who was a traveling preacher at the time, abused her. Morris surrendered to authorities on Monday and bonded out of jail on 5 counts of lewd or indecent acts on a child. Today, Clemenshire was joined by a Dallas-based crime victim advocate who is pushing for a bill known as Trey's Law. The bill focuses on non-disclosure agreements. It would abolish the agreements in cases involving child sexual abuse and trafficking victims in civil settlements. Similar proposals have been filed by other North Texas lawmakers in the House and the Senate. Our J.D. Miles is in Austin and listened to Clemenshire's testimony.
Cindy Clemenshire spent about an hour testifying before the Texas House Judiciary Committee, along with several other child sex abuse victims. She talked about the ongoing criminal case involving former Gateway pastor Robert Morris. We're going to be talking with her after this committee meeting ends. Look for my reports from Austin coming up starting at 4. J.D. Miles, CBS News, Texas.
Okay, JD. Y'all could have just included the report in the video, though. Let me see if there's anything else. Here we go. I don't know how much we're gonna watch of this. I'm just curious what happened. Let's see.
Year-old who
Yes.
her husband was having sex with, right?
Correct.
How did you take that? What did that do to you?
Oh, wait, hold on. We missed some stuff right here.
As though I was the one at fault, even to the extent that Robert Morris's wife, Debbie, called to tell me she forgave me. So still trying to
Just
mature.
let's clarify that. The wife forgave you for being a 12-year-old who
Yes.
her husband was having sex with, right?
Correct.
How did you take that? What did that do to you?
Well, at 17 and then being family friends, I was thankful because I felt like I would done something wrong, and I had been treated
The wife forgave you? That's some next level spiritual manipulation right there.
as though I had done something wrong by Robert, like making me the guilty one or a part of something that I chose when I knew nothing. I mean, 82 was a very different time when we didn't carry computers around in our hands and we had 6 channels maybe on our televisions. So innocence was very different than it is now most of the time. But that journey from 17 to 37, it wasn't until, even with years of counseling, that I could accept the term abuse. I was 35 the first time I truly accepted and believed that he abused me, that it was criminal, and I understood what grooming was, and that changed the course of my journey to more healing, and there's anger, of course, involved in that. But I was having children. You know, I have 3 sons. They currently range from 17 to 32, and I also am a grandmother of 3. And I think that for a woman, I can only speak for myself and being a woman, but that journey involves protecting your children and how you do that and how much, feeling more shame if you talk about it publicly. We did privately go to people throughout the last however many decades, 3.5 decades, sharing.
Yo, that's crazy. Cause I'm sitting here trying to think, and I understand like people deal with stuff differently. People address things differently. People internalize certain events, especially traumatic events, differently. I can't expect somebody to respond in a similar manner to another person. Like, everyone's different. But I'm sitting here thinking like, yo, how did this go for so many years without it coming up in some way, shape, or form? And now I'm kind of listening more and more to what she's saying. And once again, these are allegations. All right. All the attorneys watching, these are allegations, right? But I'm listening to more and more about what she's saying. And when you're a child, with that level of innocence, which is very interesting what she said, innocence looked different back then. Now we have these kids at 12 years old who have cell phones, who have social media, who are on TikTok, who are on Instagram, who are on YouTube. It's like they're exposed to a lot more. Innocence back then looked a lot different. So you have this child who is being allegedly abused, right? And then is being told by the wife of the abuser that she forgives you. So the wife is talking about, I forgive you. So then in the mind of a child, you're like, oh, it's me. I'm doing something wrong. I'm the problem. Because the pastor's wife is telling me that she forgives me, so I must have did something wrong. The level of, and I don't know, I'm just speculating the level of complicitness between Robert Morris and his wife. But if the wife knew, don't you think there's got to be some level of accountability from that standpoint also? Because you also allowed this man to continue in ministry for 40 plus years. And no telling what happened, allegedly, in those 40 plus years after the fact. My mind is genuinely blown.
With people in the pulpit in churches across the country about what he did to me and my family, in hopes that they would take him out of the pulpit, because we knew legally there was really nothing we could do at that, the time of it. So it takes a lifetime, as Elizabeth said, to process and heal, but just to have the courage to come forward and speak openly to the world, I never would have been ready until now.
The chair recognizes Elizabeth Phillips. I have you here testifying on behalf of yourself for House Bill 748. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, go ahead.
As you said, I'm Elizabeth Phillips. I'm from Dallas, Texas, District 101.
Okay. I think that's pretty much it. Well, maybe we might have missed this. Let me see what I missed here.
I jotted down a few things and trying to stay on track with this.
Take your time.
Okay, as you already know, I am Cindy Clemishire. I'm from Oklahoma. I grew up in a small town, Hominy, in Osage County. I am a survivor of child sexual abuse that occurred, that occurred between 1982 and 1987 when I was 12 to 17 years old. I was abused by Robert Morris, then a traveling evangelist who was married with one child, who went on to become the founding pastor of Gateway Church, one of the largest mega churches in America here in Texas. As I stated, the abuse started when I was 12 years old on Christmas night in 1982 while Robert Morris was staying in my family's home. The first time he made the premeditated decision to violate and defile my purity, he told me, and I quote, "You can never tell anyone because it will ruin everything." This abuse continued over and over and over until
More spiritual manipulation. More spiritual manipulation, because you feel like, there's some people, because I'd be reading the comments, there are some people who don't even believe what she's saying at all. There are some people who don't even believe what she's saying at all. I'm not in that camp. You know what I'm saying? The spiritual abuse, once again, don't say anything because you'll ruin everything. Imagine how a 12-year-old is going to take that. The pastor is telling you don't say anything because you're going to ruin everything. Wouldn't you think as a child, like, you're going to ruin something that like God is involved in? Like, that is some wickedness right there. All for what? To satisfy your flesh? Like, allegedly.
I finally told someone in 1987 at the age of 17. When I did finally tell someone, it seemed as though Robert Morris was right. It ruined everything. Friendships ended. Marriages of mutual family friends ended. My relationships with my parents, my siblings, friends, and others took a shift. And at 17 years old in 1987, I felt like as if it was all my fault. As I began the lifelong journey to sort through these emotional challenges, my life seemed to attract more shame, while Robert's attracted fame. Through decades of counseling off and on, seminars, books, and conversations with friends and family, I have found my way to understanding child sexual abuse, forgiveness, and healing. Part of that journey also involved a pursuit of financial restitution from Robert in 2007 at the age of 37, 20 years after I first told someone. My attorney at the time, Gittner Drummond, who is now the AG of Oklahoma, asked for $50,000 to cover past and future counseling. Robert Morris's attorney responded with a letter accusing an innocent 12-year-old Cindy of pursuing Robert, making Robert sound like the victim. The letter also offered a $25,000 settlement as long as I would sign an NDA, which I refused.
Why would you offer any money, and why would you have an NDA signed if there's, nothing that you are concerned would potentially damage your reputation?
That was 18 years ago. Because I refused to sign that document, giving up the right to freely speak about events in my life, last Wednesday, March 12th of 2025, almost 43 years after my abuse began, Robert Morris was indicted in Oklahoma on 5 counts of lewd acts with a child.
Can I say something? Allegedly? Can I say something? Allegedly? How many people you think signed that NDA? I might get in trouble with that one. But how many people you think signed that NDA? Allegedly. I'm just thinking.
Which each carry 20 years in prison. And he turned himself in to authorities just 2 days ago in Osage County in Oklahoma. Because I refused to sign an NDA, my abuser is finally being held accountable for the horrific crimes he committed against me as a child. Because I refused to sign the NDA at the age of 37, I am able to sit here at the age of 55 and share my story and be the voice for so many people who don't have the courage to come forward in hopes that I can help them.
Ms. Clemshire, I had a chance to see you come speak at a SNAP conference almost a year ago now.
August of last year.
For those that didn't get to see it, you had this incredible visual of a piece of luggage. And it caught me in the way that you drug that luggage across the stage. And with that visual, can you tell the people that are listening to you today what you meant by carrying that luggage?
Yes, as I talked about just a few minutes ago, the shame that my life continued to attract, that was what I decided to use to show people. Like when I left home at 18 to go to college, I carried with me shame that I really couldn't even begin to understand.
So here's the thing, because a lot of people, and this goes back to the other story I was talking about previously, where there's this story that's going viral about this girl talking about how her pastor was trying to hook up with her and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people in the comments of that story who were saying like, see, this is why I don't go to church. This is why I don't go to church. This is why I'm not a Christian. This is why I don't believe in God. This is why I don't trust the Bible. A lot of people are saying that. And I'm sure there's a handful of people who probably see this story and they probably have this a similar sentiment in their hearts, right? You got to understand something. Stop worshiping these preachers. Stop worshiping these preachers. Stop worshiping these pastors. Stop worshiping these people who have influence from a spiritual standpoint in this Christian industry. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. If anything, what you should be doing is praying for them. You should be praying for them. Pray for them. Pray that they themselves do the will and work of God. Because what tends to happen is we see this happen more times than we would like, is that these influential figures, they fall. They fall. Because they are not acting as proper representations of Christ. They're not acting as ambassadors of Christ. And they fall. And when they fall, there's a handful of people that go with them, that fall away from the faith, that are confused, that have questions, that blame God for these situations, that blame the church and Jesus for these situations that take place because they're unable to separate the two. That's why it's so important. You have to seek God for yourself. The Bible says if you knock, the door will be answered. You have to seek God for yourself. You have to come into a relationship with God for yourself. And we are blessed to even have that opportunity. We are blessed to even be in that position. We are blessed that God even came down, put on this flesh suit, and died for us so that we could have the opportunity to be saved. That's what you have to anchor onto. Don't anchor onto a pastor. Don't anchor onto a person. I'm not telling you not to get discipleship. I'm not telling you not to, go to church. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying you have to know where your faith is anchored. Because all of this stuff, it's very unfortunate, but the devil is eating it up. The devil loves this type of stuff. The devil does. The devil does. He loves it. Eating it up. Eating it up. Because he knows it's going to cause division. He knows it's going to cause dissension. He knows it's going to cause confusion. He knows all of this stuff. That's why I'm saying, pray for your, quote, spiritual leaders in whatever capacity that might look like, right? Pray for these individuals because there's some real stuff. There's some real spiritual forces that are pursuing them. And the devil wants these individuals to fall. Now, I'm not making excuses for potential wrongdoing from the standpoint of Robert Morris. I'm not making excuses and saying, oh, well, he was, under XYZ and spiritual antagonism. I'm not making excuses for his actions. The fact of the matter is, if this is true, if these allegations are true, the fact of the matter is, it's disgusting, it's despicable, and it's terrible that you would put somebody through that, especially at such a young age, and warp their perception, pervert their perception, and manipulate them spiritually in that way. That's wicked. That's sinful. You need to repent. But I'm just saying, it is a real thing. Like, the devil wants these people to fall because it makes the perception look bad from the church standpoint, from a Christian standpoint, to the world. Like, a lot of us understand, like, these are just people, these are just men, these are just women, whatever it is. Like, a lot of us understand that, but to the world, they be using this stuff as an excuse for them not to get right with God, as an excuse for them not to get close to God. They be using stuff like this to justify it. And that justification in their mind, it works for them. Anyway, that was longer than I thought I was going to spend on this topic, but there it is.